In the vast ocean of time where the footsteps of gods and men walked on sacred soil, there stands a figure so towering, so unwavering in his resolve, that even gods paused in his reverence. His name was Bhishma, but before the vow that shook the heaven and earth, before the battlefield where he lay upon arrows like a bed, there was a story of river and royalty, of sacrifice, of destiny written not in ink, but in the flow of sacred waters. This is the tale of Shantanu, Ganga, and the sun who would be the immovable pillar of the Mahabharata. Welcome to Dark Whispers, where we journey into the heart of one of the world's greatest epics, the Mahabharata, a story of honor, betrayal, love, power, and the eternal struggle between light and shadow. Here we don't just retell a story, we live it, one verse at a time, one warrior at a time. From the game of dice to the battle of Kurukshetra, discover the Mahabharata like never before. Do subscribe to our channel, and without any further ado, let the saga begin. The kingdom of Hastinapura stood tall upon the banks of the Ganga, a city built upon righteousness and ruled by the descendants of the legendary king Bharata, a monarch born of love between the king Dushyanta and the celestial maiden Shakuntala. Bharata, unlike most heirs, refused to crown his own sons and chose merit over blood, appointing Bhumanyu, a worthy successor. From Bharata came a long line of noble kings, and Kuru, the great ancestor after whom the Kuru dynasty is named. The dynasty would continue through Shantanu, a king descended from his noble lineage. But before Shantanu, there was King Prathipa. King Prathipa was the father of Shantanu, who was a wise ruler. One day, while performing penance on the banks of the Ganga, a radiant woman emerged from the river and sat upon his right thigh. This was no mortal. She was Ganga Devi, goddess of the sacred river. She expressed a desire to marry him, but Prathipa, adhering to the laws of dharma, told her that a woman sitting on the right thigh must be accepted as a daughter-in-law, not as a wife. He prophesied that she would marry his son and not him, and it was foretold that Ganga would become the wife of Shantanu. Time passed, and Shantanu ascended the throne of Hastinapura. One day, walking along the Ganga, he encountered a woman of ethereal beauty, and without hesitation, he asked her to marry him. She agreed on one condition: he must never question her actions, no matter how painful. Bounded by desire and unaware of her divine origin, Shantanu accepted. In time, Ganga gave birth to a son, and without a word, she drowned the child into a river. Shantanu was horrified, but again remembered his vow. Again and again Ganga bore him sons, and again she drowned them, 7 in total. When the 8th child was born, Shantanu could not bear it no longer. He pleaded with her to stop, and that was when the truth was revealed. Ganga explained that the children were not ordinary. They were the 8 Vasus, celestial beings cursed by the sage Vasishta. They had stolen the sage's divine cow, and as punishment, were destined to be born on earth. Ganga, who had agreed to deliver them swiftly from human life, except the 8th, Prabhasa, the one most guilty, who would live a long mortal life. This 8th son, spared from drowning, was named Devavrata. Ganga took him with her to the heavens to educate and prepare him. Devavrata was not raised as a prince, but as a celestial warrior. Ganga entrusted him to the greatest masters. From Brihaspati, he learned politics and morality. From Shukracharya, he gained the knowledge of the Shastras. From Parashurama, the axe-wielding destroyer of Kshatriyas, he learned all forms of weaponry. and from the sages he mastered the Vedas, Vedangas, archery, and the arts of war and peace. By the time Ganga returned him to Shantanu, Devavrata was unmatched, wise beyond his years, mighty beyond compare. Shantanu was ecstatic. He embraced Devavrata as heir, and the kingdom rejoiced. Years passed and Devavrata grew into a noble prince, dutiful and beloved. Shantanu's heart was at peace, for the future of the kingdom was secure. But fate had not yet finished its trials. One day Shantanu was wandering by the Yamuna when he beheld a fisherwoman, serene, composed, and radiant in her simplicity. Her name was Satyavati. Shantanu's heart was stirred. He wished to marry her. Her father, a humble but ambitious fisherman, agreed, but only if Satyavati's children would inherit the throne. This was impossible. Devavrata was declared the heir, and Shantanu could not undo it. Torn between duty and desire, Shantanu returned to his place in silence, carrying a sorrow that consumed him. When Devavrata learned of his father's pain, he approached the fisherman himself. There he made the most terrible and selfless vow ever uttered. He renounced not only his claim to the throne, but vowed never to marry, never to father children, so that no rival lineage could ever rise against Satyavati's children. So fierce and pure was his resolve that the heavens shook. The gods themselves hailed him. Celestial flowers rained from the sky. The word Bhishma echoed from the clouds, which meant he of the terrible vow. Thus born Bhishma, the guardian of the Kuru dynasty. Shantanu, moved beyond measure, gave Bhishma a boon. He could choose the time of his death. Death would not claim him until he allowed it. With Bhishma's vow, the marriage was agreed. Shantanu married Satyavati, and peace returned to the Hastinapura. But Satyavati carried a past that few knew, a divine secret. Before her marriage, as a maiden ferrying passengers across the Yamuna, she had encountered the great sage Parashara. In a moment beyond time, Parashara saw the birth of a child who would shape all history. From their union was born a son, Krishna Dvaipayana, born on an island in the river, dark in complexion, hence named Krishna, and Dvaipayana for the island of his birth. This son would later be called as Sage Vyasa, the compiler of the Vedas, the author of the Puranas, and the divine narrator of the Mahabharata itself. Vyasa grew up in the forest under his father's guidance, promising his mother that he would return whenever she needed him. This promise would become the key to the future of the Kuru lineage. As the marriage of Shantanu and Satyavati blossomed, they had two sons, Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. Bhishma raised them like his own, honoring his vow with unwavering devotion. But destiny, ever impartial, had other plans. This would lead to the next events of the next episode: the death of Chitrangada, the abduction of the Kashi princesses, and the tragedy of Amba, with the arrival of Vyasa to continue the Kuru line. A vow made for love, a birth granted by the gods, a kingdom bound by dharma and desire. This is not a tale of kings alone. It is the foundation of all that is yet to come. In the next episode, tragedy strikes the royal sons. The Kashi princesses enter the story, and a silent sage from the forest returns to ensure the flame of the Kurus never dies. The Mahabharata continues.